Hello everyone, it's me Pralay sir, and today we are going to discuss the chapter named from the diary of Anne Frank, and it is written by Anne Frank herself. So what is most interesting thing is that this literary prose piece or this diary has been written by Anne Frank herself. Okay, so what is an autobiography? Autobiography means a literary piece that is written by the author herself or himself. Okay, so look at the picture. This is a picture of Anne Frank. Okay, and here is a line. This is a photo as I would wish myself to look all the time. Then I would maybe have a chance to come to Hollywood. Anne Frank, 10th October 1942. Okay, so before you read, there is a descriptive passages. Okay, so read this passage by yourself and just make a concept of the chapter. Okay, I'm now going to discuss the text. Okay, so here is the text. Writing in a diary is really strange experience for someone like me. Not only because I have never written anything before, but also because it seems to me that later on neither I nor anyone else will be interested in the musing of a 13 years old schoolgirl. Oh well, it doesn't matter. I feel like writing, and I have an evergreen greater need to get all kinds of things off my chest. So, what is that? So, it is clear from the passage that Anne Frank was 13 years old girl, okay, school girl. So, the author feels that it is strange and unusual for her to write in a diary about her feelings and experiences because it was the first time she was doing it. She feels this because she thinks that in the future no one would be interested in reading about a young schoolgirl's past. She thinks that later, even she will not be interested in reading it. But then she put these thoughts away and decides that she should write if she feels like doing so. She feels that the need to write because there were a lot of thoughts she had been holding on to lately and she needed to get them off her mind. It is known that writing one's thought acts as therapy. She makes the decision of writing a diary. So she's the writing. She's just writing, or she was writing her experiences in a diary, and she think that no one is there in future he or she will read her writing or diary. Okay, paper has more patience than people. I thought of this saying on one of those days when I was feeling a little depressed and I was sitting at home with my chin in my hand, bored and listless, wondering whether to stay in or go out. I finally stayed where I was, brooding. Yes, paper does have more patience, and since I am not planning to let anyone else read this stiff-backed notebook grandly referred to as a diary, unless I should ever find a real friend, it probably won't make a bit of difference. Okay, so what is that? That is, first of all, there is a sentence. There is a word called brooding. Brooding means engaged in or showing deep thought about something that makes one sad, angry, and worried. Correct? Now, the author now feels that paper has much more capacity to absorb thought than people. People have low patience level, but a piece of paper, being a non-living, would not refuse from absorbing a thought. So, in this sense, paper has more power than some paper has more patience than some of the other people. Okay. Now, this realization came to her one day when she was feeling more sad and confused than usual. She could not even decide whether to go out or stay at home at that time. When she finally decided to stay at home, she sat being depressed and in deep thought. Again, she thought that the paper had more patience and she decided to write everything that came in her mind because she did not intend on making someone read it unless she found a real friend. By what does it mean by real friend? By real friend, she meant a friend with whom she could share all secrets. Okay. The author then comes back to the point when she thought of beginning to write. It is because she is lonely and has no friend to talk to. So, this is the thing that is interesting and it is important is that she is a lonely girl. Okay, and there is no one with her that he or she is worthy enough to share all the things. Correct. Now I am back to the point that prompted me to keep a diary in the first place. I don't have a friend. So by these lines, she made it very clear that she has no friend actually at all. Correct. So now later on, what is that? Let me put it more clearly. Since no one will believe that a 13 years old girl is completely alone in the world, and I am not. I have loving parents and a 16 years old sister, and there are about 30 people I can call friends. I have a family, loving aunts, and a good home. No, on the surface I seems to have everything except my one true friend. All I think about when I'm with the friend is having a good time. I can't bring myself to talk to anything but ordinary everyday things. We don't seem to be able to get any closer, and that's the problem. Maybe it's my fault that we don't confide in each other. In any case, that's just how things are, and unfortunately, they are not liable to change. This is why I have started the diary. So, in this passage, why Anne Frank thought to wrote the diary. Okay, we can come to know that what is the reason that compelled Anne to write the diary. So, from the very first line of this paragraph, Anne Frank made it very clear that she is 13 years old and he is completely alone. Although she has loving parents, 16 years old sister, there and 30 peoples that she can call friends, and she has a family also, loving aunts and a good home, and no one on the surface. She seemed to have everything except her own one true friend. All she thinks about when she is with friends is having a good time. She can't bring herself to talk about anything but ordinary everyday things. We don't seem to be able to get any closer. So she was unable to share all the things with all these peoples. Okay, and that is the problem. And she thought that it may be her problem, her fault actually. That they don't confide each other. Okay, they cannot make up their minds. They are not adjusting to themselves actually. In any case, just how things are, and unfortunately they are not liable to change. This is why I've started writing. So she is alone, that's why she started writing. Okay, now move on to the next page. To enhance the image of the long awaited friend in my imagination, I don't want to jot down the facts that in that diary the way most people would do, but I want the diary to be my friend, and I am going to call this friend Kitty. So the name of the diary is Kitty, and Anne called this his her friend. Okay. Now, since no one would understand a word of my story to Kitty if I were to plunge right in, uh, I would better provide a brief sketch of my life, much as I dislike doing so. So, what does it mean? The word plunge? Plunge means jump or dive quickly. Okay. So, now move on to the next paragraph, that is, my father, the most adorable father I have ever seen, didn't marry my mother until he was 36 and she was 25. So, the age of her father is 36 and mother 25. And what is interesting is that at that time they didn't get married also. Okay. uh, my sister Margot was born in Frankfurt in Germany 1926. I was born on 12 June 1929. So this is the description of the birthday of her sister and her. Okay. I lived in Frankfurt until I was 4. My father emigrated to Holland in 1933. My mother, Edith Hollander Frank, went with him to Holland in September, while Margot and I were sent to Aachen to stay with our grandmother. Margot went to Holland in December and I followed in February, when I was plunked down on the table as a birthday boy, at the birthday present for Margot. Okay. So this is the some events, the chain of events. What is that? That she considered her father as a most adorable father. Okay. And now my sister Margot was born in Frankfurt. So her sister Margot, so name of her sister is Margot, was born in Frankfurt, Germany 1926, and she was born 12 June 1929, and she lived in Frankfurt until she was 4, at the age of 4. My father emigrated to Holland in 1933. So Anne Frank's father went to Holland in 1933 and her mother, Edith Hollander Frank, went with her father to Holland in September, while Margot and I were sent to Aachen to stay with our grandmother. So they were sent to their grandmother house. There they lived there. Okay. And Margot went to Holland in December. So Margot also went to their parents, and finally she went there to the parents in February. So what is most surprise is that she was just plunked down on the table as a birthday present for Margot. So she was treated as the birthday present for her sister. Correct? So this is the chain of events. Now I started right away at that Montessori nursery school. I stayed there until I was 6, at which time I started in the first form. In the 6th form, my teacher was Mrs. Cooperus, the headmistress. At that end of the year, we were both in tears as we said a heartbreaking farewell. So this is the description of the school, and in the 6th form of my teacher was, and the 6th form, my teacher was Mrs. Cooperus. So it is also an important character, Mrs. Cooperus, the headmistress of Anne Frank School. At the end of the year, we both in tears as we said a heartbreaking farewell. In the summer of 1941, Grandma fell ill and had to have an operation. So my birthday passed with little celebration. So in the year 1941, Anne Frank's grandma fell ill and had to have an operation. Means, so she needed to undergo a surgery. Okay. So her birthday, so Anne Frank's birthday just was something like little. Okay, a little celebration means that her birthday was not enjoyed in a boastful manner. Okay, or vividly manner. Grandma died in January 1942. No one knows how often I think of her and still love her. So it is clear from this line that Anne Frank loved her grandma a lot. So her grandma died in the January 1942. So students, it is very important to note that all these years from 1926, 1929, 1933, and then 1941, 1942, all this chain of events are very important for your examination purposes. Okay, uh, this birthday celebration in 1942 was intended to make up for the other, and grandma's candle was lit along with the rest. The four of us are still doing well, and that brings me to the present date of 20th June 1942 and the solemn dedication of my diary. So that is the day. From this day, Anne Frank was about to write the diary from the 13 years of age. Correct? So this is the first part I have discussed. I will discuss the remaining chapters from Dearest Kitty from the next video. Okay, so do watch this video carefully. Okay, and I will give some question to you which you have to answer. Thank you very much for watching this video.